Hello, welcome to the Build Vibrant Health podcast. My name is Mary, and here I have Stacy on with me today. She is the marketing director for Austin Air Systems. She is also a certified health and wellness coach with a focus on environmental impacts. Makes sense why you're working for Austin Air, right? And a published author. She is a wife and mother of 4 daughters from Pennsylvania, and she is incredibly passionate about all things air quality. Welcome, Stacy.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be on.
Yeah, happy to have you here. And my first question to you is, what got you incredibly passionate about all things air quality?
I would say, you think about just as a person who's very passionate about health in general, as a certified health coach, as a mom, um, that's I'm just very passionate about health in general. But when you think about the health of the body, there's basically 3 things that we kind of take in every single day, right? It's food, water, and air. And food is incredibly important, water also, but we take in more air than we do those other 2 things. And I think so often there's this mindset of I'll just be fine if I have the right diet, or I'll just be fine if I drink enough water. And I think when people don't consider the stuff that they're breathing in every single day, they're kind of at a loss because they're not looking at the big picture. And so I have just been incredibly passionate about all things air quality because I think you can eat the right diet, drink enough water, but if you are exposed to certain things, you're going to have a hard time.
Totally. You explained that beautifully. And I know that to be true personally myself. And I know you you were just expressing before we hopped on the Zoom that you've also had your own experience with air quality being compromised in your home and that directly impacting your health. Are you open to sharing a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. My husband and I actually just did a podcast about that very, very story that's on the Austin Air site. But, basically we moved into this home and we had no idea that there was the presence of mold in it. And we've got 4 daughters, and every single person in our family started having all these random issues, right? Like they weren't all the same, but each person had something that started when we moved in the house. And lo and behold, it was a long journey. We referred to it as chasing a ghost, because it was the first trying to find where the mold was, where it was coming from, because we did not have the water damage. But then trying to figure out, okay, how do we remediate and what do we do from here? But every single person in my house, all 6 of us, my 4 children, my husband and I, were impacted from a health standpoint. And so, yeah, it was a lot. I think the first thing, which was surprising to me, that affected us, all 6 of us, the only common denominator was that we all had insomnia. Everybody else had one of my kids had like hormonal stuff, another one had congestion, and another one there's sore throat, and there's all these different things, but everybody had sleep problems.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting, very interesting.
Well, I think really common if your body, if you're trying to breathe in air that's contaminated and your body's trying to detox and heal itself overnight and it's having blockages to that, then
Yeah.
It makes it really difficult to sleep and repair your body. And I know insomnia is one of those things I struggle with if I'm exposed to mold, and that's one of my telltale triggers or like signs that there might be something else going on.
Yeah.
And so tell me and so you went through a whole remediation process in your home, and tell me, how did Austin Air play a role in throughout that process?
You know what? Honestly, I swear Austin Air saved us because we were in the home and we didn't know what we were exposed to at first, and I think it could have been a lot worse. From the standpoint of, okay, now we have to. We had professionals come in to do the remediation properly, obviously, with the negative air pressure and sealing everything off and making sure that it was clean and rebuilt properly. We did that. But then I think people forget there's this other side of it where you have to start construction projects in your home too, so the Austin air purifiers were helping to get out a lot of those mycotoxins and spores and stuff when we were exposed and didn't know it was there. But then during the remediation process, when we had construction going on, there was a lot of different materials that were used, paints, drywall, all these things that negatively impact the air quality in the environment. And so the Austin air purifiers came in handy then too. And then, when we were finished with all of the remodeling and stuff, it was like, oh yeah, wait, you know what? We have new flooring, we have new furniture, we have all of these different things now that are perpetually off-gassing VOCs into the home. So I think the Austin air purifiers really at every stage of that did help us through, because I don't know what we would have done without them, to be honest.
Yeah, I have noticed a huge difference in the air quality when I am using Austin Air versus not. So I can agree with everything you just said there, and I'm glad that you had that as a tool as your
I
family
think
is going through that.
it's funny because there's a lot of people, and that's one thing I tell people a lot, that are like, well, how do you even really know it's working? And you can smell clean air. You can definitely smell clean air. It smells like a mountaintop fresh air type. You know what I mean? It smells different than any other. If you walk into a room that does not have a Austin air purifier, it's different.
Sure.
So.
Well, and I've tried, so the reason why I personally landed on Austin Air was because Austin Air was the fifth unit that I had tried. And I actually didn't go with Austin Air at first because I was like, that's expensive. Like I'm gonna just try some different options first. And I've noticed a big difference. All the other ones had like a 30-day guarantee, or like I returned to like Amazon or Walmart and I just shipped it back. And even some of the brands are like, maybe I would say competitive with Austin Air, of still using like HEPA, like high quality products, but I still noticed a big difference when I switched to the Austin Air. I was working in an office space where the air was contaminated, and I noticed a tangible difference. Like my symptoms and everything really were supported or decreased when I added Austin Air in. And I will say, having an air filter is not a replacement for not addressing a mold issue or contaminants in a building, but it can be really helpful, like you said, in the meantime, or if there's wildfires in your area, decreasing the contaminants. So my next question is, and you've already touched on this a little bit, but what air contaminants does Austin Air address and filter out?
Oh my gosh, I mean, we could cover a whole podcast answering that. I think the big thing with the Austin Air units is the fact that we have, well, first of all, we have the combination of technology that's recommended by the EPA, the World Health Organization, the CDC, which is the combination of HEPA and activated carbon. And so that combination enables people to really get out a wider range of pollutants from the home. Obviously, HEPA is widely known for being super efficient with particulate matter, dander, spores, a lot of those things. But then, you have things like VOCs, gases, odors that are quite a bit smaller. They're very, very small. You think about the gaseous components, those are really adsorbed by the carbon. And so we have a special blend, it's a carbon zeolite blend in our Austin Air filters. And that's where you're going to capture a lot of those types of things. So having the combination enables you to get that wider range, enables you to pretty much get it all when you're talking about these different types of pollutants and their size, The other thing is we have 60 square feet of HEPA in ours and up to 15 pounds of the activated carbon zeolite blend. So, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of filter material. So that enables capture. So I really think that, it's the widest ranging filter out there.
Yeah, and that was, you segued perfectly into my next question for you, which was, how is Austin Air how are Austin Air filters different than other filtration systems? And I know for me, one of the big factors that I looked at was the carbon zeolite and the amount of pounds of carbon, because you had so much more carbon and more square feet, like you said, than most other companies.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, that, that sets us apart, that there's nobody on the market that really has the amount, that we have. So if you think about like some of these that might say, okay, they have both the HEPA and the carbon, and then you look and you dig down into the technical specifications, and you'll see that it's maybe a small carbon screen that's 2.2 pounds or something, you know what I mean? Or if they have a little bit of granulated carbon, it's under 5 pounds or whatever. So then you have this situation where, okay, it's not very much filter material, and so you have to change that out. You have to replace those filters quite often because they're going to get saturated, and you want to make sure that you're continually able to capture these toxins and pull them out of the room. And so just, I think that first of all is the main thing, the amount of filter material, and the fact that having that, 60 square feet of HEPA, up to 15 pounds of carbon, that enables a filter life much longer. So we say that our filters are designed to last 5 years, so that's like, sometimes people are like, well, they think I'm talking about like the machine, and I'm like, no, the replacement. So a lot of these other filters on the market, you see like, okay, well, you got to replace it in 3 months, 6 months, and that, first of all, that's a cost that adds up. But second of all, you got to think, okay, well, how much is it absorbing? How much is it capturing? If that's the length of time before I got to hurry up and change it out, and what happens if I don't change it out? You know what I mean? So it brings up a lot of those different those questions. So I would say numero uno, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Non-filter material. Then I would also say, you know what? Ours are clinically proven. So Austin Air over the years has partnered with some very renowned research organizations and hospitals, Johns Hopkins University, Cincinnati Children's, the American Academy of Pediatrics. So we've done studies, we've got the clinical trials. So it's not just us out here saying, hey, yeah, it works. We've got the data to back that up, that yes, we've studied this machine, and yes, we have results that show it works. So I think that is another really huge thing, because not everybody has that. Also, airflow, I feel, is important. So a lot of times you'll see these purifiers that they're cute little things you sit on your desk, right? And it's got this like exit vent out the top, and even the bigger ones, they have the exit vent out the top, and then it's like it's almost like creates this like little mushroom cloud of clean air, but it's not actually moving air throughout the room. It's not pushing the air around the room. So it's like, unless you have like everybody's gathering around the purifier like a bonfire, you know what I mean? Everybody's not benefiting from the clean air unless it's circulating the air. So the Austin Air purifiers, we have a 360-degree air intake system. So we pull in air from all 4 sides of the machine, but then we have one exit vent. And so what that enables is, if you strategically place it in a room, that one exit vent is going to push the air, bounce off a wall, and create a circular vortex, so that you're really, truly, fully cleaning the room, instead of this little mushroom cloud of clean air that maybe goes up, and then, you know what I mean?
Well, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be, I think, another thing that really sets Austin apart. And then also a few of our machines offer what's called a Haga carbon cloth. It's a military grade Haga carbon cloth, and that's something that nobody else offers. So when you're talking about wildfires, when you're talking about chemical disasters or different type of chemical exposures, having that extra carbon is huge. And like I said, I haven't seen that anywhere else. So that's something that Austin does offer,
Totally. And can you touch on to what Hega versus HEPA is? Do you say Hega?
Yeah, so Haga, so HEPA, obviously, everybody's familiar with HEPA, and that's, what is, like we said before, we have the 60 square feet of HEPA that's really going to get a lot of those allergens, dander, particulates, and those types of things. Even some viruses and bacteria down to the 0.1 micron size is what HEPA itself has been tested at. When you're talking about carbon, it's just more adsorbent for a lot of the gases and chemicals. So even when we're talking about things like NO2 from gas appliances, stoves, dryers, those types of things, or formaldehyde, VOCs, things that are in the home. Even we had talked briefly about the wildfires, that have been just ravaging, the country. People forget that wildfires are not just burning organic material, not just vegetation and trees. Wildfires are burning structures, man-made structures, buildings, cars. And so what happens is the combustion of those types of materials is releasing an enormous amount of chemicals into the air. And so those chemicals need to be absorbed by the carbon. So having that extra carbon cloth really is helpful.
Really helpful. Yeah, beautiful. And so there's many different Austin Air unit systems. How does someone know which one is best for them? Obviously, besides going to the website and reading the different specs. Can you break that down for us?
We get this a lot because, if you look at the Austin Air purifiers, they all look the same, right? And they all have pretty much the same shape, the same body to them. And I will say, as a side note, our design is very strategic. It's very simple. It has a 3-speed switch. And that's by design, that we have a steel-bodied frame that's powder coated, not painted. So it's not off-gassing additional pollutants into the room like some of these other plastic painted units are. So I think that too should be noted, that it's not just, we had this design way back when and we haven't updated it. We have this design and it works and it's healthy for people, and we're not changing it, at this point, because it's by design. It's what's most healthy for people. That being said too, I think we have different names for each one, and so we start with, let's say, our flagship model is the HealthMate, right? And so that is for the general air purification of your office, your classroom, your home. It has both the HEPA and the carbon, and the zeolite, and so it will capture that wide range that we talked about initially. But then we have the HealthMate Plus, and the HealthMate Plus is basically the HealthMate, but the combination of activated carbon and zeolite is a little bit different. So it has a potassium iodide impregnated carbon with it. That's what makes the plus. And that potassium iodide impregnation really allows for greater, more efficient adsorption of certain chemicals. So that I would say, if you have a suspicion that you're getting headaches from maybe formaldehyde or whatever, and you need additional help with chemicals, I would say, the plus. There's studies that have shown, that the potassium iodide impregnated carbon really does assist with airborne elemental metals. So if you have a dentist office and there's, the possibility of elemental metals from the dentist work, then I would say, the HealthMate Plus is probably a better option. We have the allergy machine, and that has the same. It's got the HEPA in it, but it has the carbon cloth, and that is really designed to move air quicker throughout the room, primarily for people that have asthma or COPD. If they have a flare-up or they're having an allergic reaction or something, the air in the room can be cleaned out much quicker. So it circulates much quicker. And then we have the bedroom machine, and currently that is our top of the line machine. It's got 5 stages of filtration. So that has, everything that's in the Austin Air Healthmate. It has the HEPA as well as the carbon zeolite blend, but then it also has that Hega carbon cloth that we talked about. So that is our most comprehensive. It's called the bedroom machine because we always say, the bedroom is the most dangerous room in the house. You lose 50% of your lung capacity when you lie down. And so it's really, truly important to filter out those chemicals from the room before they go into the lungs, because your lungs don't have the ability to do it as well when you're sleeping.
Sure.
And so that's why the bedroom machine is the most comprehensive. So that's kind of the difference, the breakdown.
Thank you. That was a beautiful breakdown.
Yeah.
And I did not know that fact about your lung. And it makes sense when you lay down, your lungs don't have that same capacity. So
I would
besides,
say get them out of the room before they get in your body, right?
totally. Yeah. Well, thank you. And so there's a lot of people who might be watching this who are looking at making their space healthier. Maybe they're going through a mold remediation like you were, maybe they have allergies. So would you just say the best option for them is dependent on what they're experiencing health-wise and their budget?
Yeah, I think it does depend. I think, the standard, obviously, the health mate. If you have somebody who has, gas appliances in their home, though, or like I said, they have additional chemical exposures, maybe they want to go to the plus, depending on their needs. If they have a child with severe asthma and or they have sleeping issues or whatever, the bedroom machine might be, because it's the most comprehensive. It does have the 5 stages of filtration versus the 4. And so, that one is the top of the line.
So you could use the bedroom machine not in the bedroom, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And tell me, what do you do with your family and with the situation that you've been in recently? What does your air filtration system look like?
So we have them everywhere. We have 12 units actually in my home. We
That's
have
wild.
them at every room. So I have 4 daughters. They all have their own bedrooms. They all have their own air purifiers. We really, we had several, and then with the mold exposure that was in the home, we ended up getting more so that we could create safe spaces in the home, because we were not able to move out. We did have it part of the house totally sealed off with, the proper negative air going and the air scrubbers and stuff. But we really just wanted to make sure that we had a safe space so that we could stay in the home. One of my daughters has Lyme disease. And so that was really important to make sure, especially that she had good air quality where she was. And so, yeah, we have them in the bedroom. We have them in the living room. We have gas appliances. We have gas stoves. And one of my daughters has asthma. So we make sure that there is in the kitchen and in the dining room that's off that. We have air purifiers going so that the NO2 from the combustion of the gas appliances is filtered out.
Okay.
We have them in the bathrooms because I've got 4 daughters, and there's hairspray and there's perfume and there's all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crank that thing up. You're getting ready. You're going to pass out, So we try to use the natural ones, but teenagers, it doesn't always work, right? So at least we've got the air purifiers going.
Wow.
Nail polish too, that type of stuff. A lot of the different things that you don't necessarily think of that have a smell and it's a negative.
Sure. Or, some homes have like wood burning stoves, right? So would that fall in the same category as the gas?
So we actually have a wood burning stove and a wood burning fireplace. And so, yes, there's so many pollutants that are released with even just the burning of wood, even though it's a natural substance. The combustion process does put a lot of particulate matter and pollutants into the air. And so we have our air purifier very near to our wood stove. So in the winter,
You're on top of it.
Yeah, both of them are running for sure at all times.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it sounds like you have that under control.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Um, as we're talking about your family's health and your own personal experience with it, I forgot to ask this question earlier on, but how did Austin Air get started? Like, what's the backstory of this whole company?
So, it's one of those feel good stories, right? I mean, Austin Air has been around for a very long time, since, the 90s, early 90s. And I think that in itself, just because you look at, okay, the pandemic happened, and look at how many different air purification companies popped on the market during
Mm,
the pandemic. So you have to think, did they all pop on the market for the right reason or because it was an opportunity? You know
mm,
what I mean? And were their products as thought out, you know what I mean, as they
mhm,
needed to be? And so that I think is crucial to look at too, like where did this company come from? And then really looking at the product. So Austin Air, though, has been around for decades. And the owner of the company, the founder, Mr. Richard Taylor, he really just set out to create something that would help his wife who had respiratory issues. At the time, he really wanted to replicate the quality of air that she had when she was in the hospital, so that she could breathe better in other places at home, namely, and when she was sleeping. And so yeah, so this was his design, and he
mm,
set it out to create something for the right reasons, and so he left no stone unturned in the development of it and the creation of it. And for me personally, when um, when I'm backing a product, or when I'm looking at the differences between, that carries a lot of weight for me. That means a lot, because it set out to um, solve a problem, and
mm,
a problem that was very personal to somebody. And so here we are, decades later, sold in 100 countries, still the, trailblazer, I consider us to be, of the medical grade air purifier for the consumer.
mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that really says a lot about the company and where we started, but also where we're headed, and the legacy that we're all charged with now.
Hmm. Yeah, it really, Austin Air, I feel like, and just speaking to you, is really about helping people
Right.
restore their health and get back to health. And a really big part of that is air quality, and knowing that the founders have a personal investment in that, whether they're
Right.
here and alive still or not, their legacy still lives on.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Through everybody that's here, into the company. So it is about the health of the people that we work with every day, our coworkers and our customers, providing the best product that we can, but also, making sure that we're guiding them in the right way, making sure that they get the right one that they need. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
so yeah, definitely.
Totally. Well, I have one last question for you before we wrap up here.
Okay.
And that is, do you ever foresee another unit being introduced? And the reason why I ask is I recently came across a different company that offers a car air filtration unit. And I know I love to drive and travel. And there's also, I used to live in Colorado, and there I would be driving my car, and sometimes like driving through like smoky areas during wildfire season.
Yep.
And I just think that would be an amazing addition to Austin Air's collection. And I'm wondering if that has ever been an area that's explored.
I will say, I don't know about a car air purifier. I would tell you though that my daughter with asthma asks me probably weekly,
Yeah.
for that very thing. But that isn't something that, I mean, we're talking about right now. I will say that we are constantly, if we're talking about the legacy that Mr. Taylor has left, I mean, we're constantly trying to be innovators, because he was an innovator, and that's where all this came from. And so, so I will tell you that we are constantly innovating. How's that?
Totally. It sounds like me and your daughter are on the same page. So it sounds like there's a need for
I
it.
don't know if it'll happen with a car, but we are
Right.
constantly looking at the need. We're
Mhm.
constantly looking at the how, you know, different climates are changing and how we can adapt and help the evolving world that we live in, you know, I mean, to
Sure.
protect people from. I read a study from the World Health Organization was it said less than 1% of the air, global air, is actually totally clean.
Wow. Yeah. And
That means,
sometimes our indoor air quality is even more compromised than the outdoor air quality, even in like a bigger city, which is just
right?
not okay.
No, I mean, because you're bringing everything from the outside in, and then you have just what goes on in the home. You have the furniture, you have, you know, whether it's you know, bioaerosols and bacteria, viruses, and then cleaning products and beauty products, and all these different things. So yeah, totally. It's bad outside, but then it's really bad inside.
Right. And you can do all of the things that like you said earlier, to eat healthy and move your body and have a good mindset. And all those things are really important. But if you're not breathing clean air,
Right.
you can move the dial a little bit, but ultimately that is
Right.
a huge contributor to health. And I know moving out of a moldy place myself and being very intentional about the air that I'm breathing is one of the biggest factors that's restored my own health. So
Yeah,
if you're
same.
watching this and you have health issues, or you already know that your air is something that needs a little bit of cleaning, reach out to me and we can get you set up with Austin Air and figure out what the best solution is for you and your family to ensure better health for you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we part ways, Stacy?
No, I'm just so grateful that you invited me on, because I think this is such a huge topic that a lot of people don't consider. So I'm really grateful for you for being an advocate.
Yeah, and thank you for being an advocate and, using your passions for the greater good and helping people that way.
Absolutely.
If you
Onward we go.
Onward, yes. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you feel like a loved one or friend could benefit from this information, please share and reach out to me if you have any questions. Have a beautiful day, friends.